Hi, welcome to the Coaching Show. I'm Laurie Lawson, and tonight my guest is Ann Darwicki. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming. We're going to talk about how Ann got here, actually. It was not easy, but I think it's going to be worth it because she's got some really cool things to tell us. First, let me tell you a little bit about the coaching game. The coaching game is based on points of view, the coaching game. And this was created in Israel by people that I just have no other word for except geniuses. And it's really a series of 65 cards with outrageously wonderful photography and captions on the bottom that may or may not go together, but the whole concept is to bring right and left brain thinking together. And it just kind of means you're going along the normal path, and then suddenly you're over here and you go, okay, how did I get there? So that's what we're doing tonight. Ann is a coach. I met her at my alma mater and now her alma mater. IPAC, where we both graduated, and we kind of had a feeling when we met that there's something supposed to be happening here. She's doing some really cool stuff down in Delaware, Smyrna actually, right now, and she's going to tell us all about that. But first, tell me a little bit about how you got into coaching.
I got into coaching because I was offered a weekend to just get away and have fun, so I said, why not? Of course. My husband wanted to be a coach, and I said, I'm a nurse, I'm not a coach, but I'll go away for the weekend because I always say yes to a good time and to go away. So I was right there on that, and we got to IPAC, and they started talking about some of their core principles and their core beliefs, and I absolutely loved what I was hearing, and I thought this is really what I believe also. And
what were the ones that caught you? Because I know both you and your husband said, oh, it was those core beliefs that did it for me. What was something that you remember?
That there are no mistakes. That
was the hardest concept. It was like, what? Of course there are mistakes. I make them all the time, but I got it finally.
And that that it's perfection, and that I believe that we're always loved and guided and protected, and that's really how I try to live my life, and the perspective that. I try to apply when things happen that seem out of my control and remind myself, okay, even though I may not understand it now, there's a purpose or a reason behind it. Sometimes I know immediately. Sometimes I may not know for 10 or 20 years what it was. And then now I get it.
So your vacation turned into a vocation. How did that happen?
Well, I had known for a long time that as a nurse, I was practicing and in a field with newborns and pediatrics. And I knew at some point I wanted to practice holistic medicine. And I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I just knew that I wouldn't be staying in nursing for my whole career. And when they started talking about the coaching, and I thought, well, I'm just going to use this for me because this is very helpful to kind of change my perspective and my belief. And really, I think like a lot of people, I feel like, there were a lot of things that I wanted to work on with myself, like I wasn't in the place that I wanted to be. So I decided that this would be very helpful for me to do, and I really enjoyed it. And then the more time that went on, I started thinking this really could help with a lot of people in their life and where they would like to be. At the time, I was waking up, and I had 12-hour shifts that I was working, and I was thinking, oh, God, I'm not going to be home till 8 o'clock tonight, and it's 5 a.m. And how am I ever going to get through this day? And I used to love what I did, and then I wasn't feeling that passion and that spark, and I knew it was time to go. And
it's interesting, because that's kind of how I approach coaching also. I knew that I wasn't happy what I was doing, but it was like, okay, I really wanted to know more about myself. Why aren't I happy? What's going to make me happy? So when I went in and IPAC is, divided into 3 mods. So when I went to mod 1, it was like, oh, okay, more. I want to know about me, more about me, all about me. And by the time I got to mod 2, it was like, this stuff is so good that everybody should know about it. So that's kind of, we both reached that conclusion at the same time. So what kind of coaching are you doing now?
What I'm doing now is really, taking people from where they're at in their life. A lot of times people are just getting by and surviving, waking up like, oh my God, how many more days till Friday? And really just really passing the time by until maybe Friday night and we have the weekend, or we're passing the time by until we go on vacation for a week.
Or until we retire. How sad is that?
Or until retirement. And so when you look at it, you're not really living your life. You're really
waiting. You're ticking
you're
off time.
putting it off and getting, just getting by. And we had an opportunity to go out to LA a couple years ago with our son's band, and they got to speak with some musicians that were already in the industry, showing them how they could make it. And we spoke with Steve Adler from Guns N' Roses. And he said that when they were first taking off, that they were excited to wake up every day. They couldn't wait to see what each new day was going to bring. And I thought, this is how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
I want to wake up excited. I want to be passionate. I want to be full of joy. And I want to spread that to other people. And I've been lining my life up in that direction ever since. So I ended up leaving the hospital.
Whoa.
And I told everybody when I left the hospital that I was reinventing myself and that I was going to be a freelance writer.
Oh,
And that I
nice.
was going to write a book. Within about 8 months, I actually was published in the Kent County Women's Journal.
Let's show that, because it's
Yes.
a very impressive magazine.
Yes.
It's quite big and very nice. But she has your regular contributor,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
This comes out bi-monthly, and I have 2 articles in each edition. One that I
Wow.
write,
Oh, okay.
you know, about my personal experiences with coaching or my growth opportunities that life always seems to present.
Yeah.
And then I
Yes.
also interview court-appointed special advocates and really get to celebrate them and highlight what they're doing with volunteer work and the wonderful things that they're doing. So I absolutely love it. That's one of my
Wow.
favorite things, is celebrating other people.
Now, where could they find this? Is this only
available online.
Oh, it is?
It's available
Oh,
online,
okay.
Kent County Women's Journal, I believe, .com, actually.
Okay.
It's on there.
We'll check it
At
out.
wjpublishing.com
All right.
is where it's available.
wjpublishing.com. So if you
Yes.
want to check out some of Ann's articles, which are really kind of cool. So what your focus is on, I know you want to spread the word, that's kind of what I'm doing here, but I know you want to spread the word, but your focus is on what kind of coaching?
Really about, you know, aligning your life and living more of that life of passion and that life of joy, and what are your perspectives and your beliefs around living that quality of life. And one of the things that surprised me when I gave my notice at the hospital, I knew it was time to go, and I felt very good in my decision, but instead of celebrating and saying, woohoo, I actually cried, and I felt a sense of sadness and grief, and realized like how my identity was tied up with it and my sense of security. And being able to look at that and honor that and say, yes, that's okay, you know, to grieve and to, you know, to say goodbye to that part of my life that I identified with for so long, and honor that, and then move on and say, okay, now I get to choose something else, and what do I want to choose?
I love that you're including in your whole journey a grieving process, because I think people just think, oh, I'm going to jump from here to here and life will be better.
Right.
Because I've done all the training, I've read all these books, I've done whatever I had to do, and I'm following the rules. But that your identity is tied up. I mean, I'm sure when people ask you, it's like, what do? You're going to go,
Right.
you're not going to go, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, you know, I'm a nurse. You know,
Right.
that's my identity. So yes, I think that's excellent advice that needs to be reinforced all the time, that change equals grief, and,
Yeah.
and grief is okay. It's
Yes.
like
All
as
of
long as it
that.
doesn't last forever. But you know,
Right. And that was one of the big, you know, learning points in my life too. Is I had come home from this one job, and I knew when I got this job in nursing it wasn't for me, but I took it anyway because I needed the money. And it didn't take long to figure out that this really was not a good fit. And I came home miserable and very angry. And I remember at one point my husband said to me, "Don't be angry." And I said, "No. People have been telling me my whole life not to be angry. It's okay to be angry. And I'm going to feel this anger, and then I'm going to let it go. And I'm not going to suppress it and hold on to it like I used to do before. I'm going to feel what I'm feeling in the moment, honor that, and then let it go." And then, you know, if life was all joy, it would be pretty boring.
It would. I
You
mean,
know?
it's something to fantasize about, but it's not something to
Yeah,
actually
because
execute, because it can't be done.
You
so.
can't truly appreciate the joy if you know what it's like to not always feel that joy, so that when those moments come, you savor them and you know they won't last either. And that,
Hopefully you
Yes.
do. But there's a great philosophy out there, and I always remember stuff, but I don't remember to whom it should be attributed. So somebody out there really smart said that all activity stems from negativity, and it makes so much sense. If you're walking down Paradise Lane, you're not going to move. You're going to keep walking
Right.
and go, this is fun. But if you're uncomfortable, if you have that feeling at work, it's like, oh God, I don't want to get up, or this isn't the job for me, then of
Yeah.
course you're going to go out and find something. Maybe, hopefully, you're going to take the leap of faith, which you have to do, and go out and find something. But if you were totally happy, then the coaching world would be missing a coach. So, and we can't have that. So.
And that's one of the, when I left, I told the hospital that I was going to write, and one of the articles that I had written, and one of the things that really seems to call to me is our beliefs, and how our beliefs and our thoughts really shape our reality. and how do you want to look at them when different things come up?
Yes, I always have my guests choose a card, and the card that, one of the cards that Ann chose was belief. And that's interesting. So tell me more about how our beliefs help and hinder. We can talk about help about how you got here, but how do they hinder?
So, and I can definitely share how I applied some of those beliefs that I have.
As early as an hour ago, yes.
So, I mean, they can hinder us by thinking, you know, that life has to be hard, or that life is tough, or that, you know, that things are always stacked against you, or it's Murphy's Law that everything bad is going to happen. And I've started to really become aware and look at what are my beliefs, and is this really a belief that I want to put my energy and faith in and create more of? Because I believe what we focus on or what we believe in brings more of that to us. So is this serving me and bringing me what I want, or is it not? And if it's not, then I work on, okay, let me change the thoughts around it. And it doesn't always feel good to change thoughts. A lot of times it doesn't. And one of the examples that I have is recently I was in Florida, and we went out to dinner, and I wanted to try some of the local cuisine that I hadn't tried before, but part of me wanted to stick with the safe option that I knew I would like. So I kind of caught my thoughts, and it was like, you should stick with what you know. You might regret it if you try something different. And what if you don't like it? And I felt uncomfortable, but I thought, I really want to try something different. And so
something that simple, and yet people, and that's a simple choice, but people base their whole lives on stuff like that.
Yes,
and that's what's sad, and you know what I think what we're out here trying to change.
That's right. And I like what IPEC says is how you show up for one thing is how you show up for everything. So that minor decision shows up for me in all the different ways in my life. It can show up in big decisions in my life. Stick with what you know, stick at the hospital, stick with what's comfortable, stick with where you're making your money and you know you're good at, versus to choose this path of coaching where you don't really know exactly what you're going to do and you don't really know where it's going to lead. So this is a little uncomfortable. So you should stick with what you know. And just applying that faith and saying, I believe that this is where I'm meant to go, and that I will be provided for, and that it will work out in that direction, no matter how it turns out.
Absolutely. There's, once again, a quote. It's no matter whether you think you're right or whether you think you're wrong, you are.
That's right.
And I think that's what you're saying. It's like, it's a thought first, and then it's like how you carry that out. And ideally, I mean, certainly we're going to have bad days when it's like, you know what, this day really is not doing it for me. But it's still, you catch yourself more often now, right?
Yes. Yeah. I catch myself. I catch the thought in action and say, okay, is this a thought that I like to have? Is this going to bring me what I want? Or is this not going to bring me what I want? And then I look at it from there.
How do you help your clients with that? Because those are hard habits to break.
They are. Well, acknowledging that, you know, a lot of times it's that process. Like, we'll share the thoughts and the conversations in the coaching session, but then I say you're going to go out. And now in between this session and the next one, you're going to notice different patterns are going to come up, or different thoughts are going to come up, and you're going to catch them. And just notice them. You're not judging them, because it's not judging whether they're good or bad. You're just going to notice them. Because first, becoming aware is the first step.
Right. Yeah, and I'll when I'm doing some coaching, it's also when they'll go, oh, but you know what, that's never worked for me before. And so you have to go, okay, well, let's pretend that it's going to work for you. How would this look? You know, and just get them out of just like the cards did, get them out of the thinking path where, you know, comfort is good. People like comfort, including food, but change is scary, you know, and you can grieve, and you can be scared, and you can do all of that, but the rewards, you know, that thing on Facebook where this is your comfort zone and out here is where your real life starts. It's like, yeah, you have to get out of there, and that's a hard one to do. But once you do, then you can surmount almost anything, which is fantastic. So how has the other card that Ann chose is trust, and I think I think the universe today was testing her. Testing her to see, does she really believe and trust? Tell us how you got here today.
Well, my morning started, my husband got up early to make breakfast because my daughter had asked that he make breakfast for us, and he did. And I came downstairs a few minutes later, and he wasn't cooking breakfast. He was actually running up and down the steps from the basement. And I said, good morning, and he didn't hear me, and he was very focused. And finally, a few minutes later, he came back up, and he said, oh, the refrigerator and the freezer are not working. I think the ground fault tripped. So he was trying to fix that before we left at 5:30 this morning.
Yes, Delaware's like a 4-hour ride on a good day.
Yes. So he fixed that, and I just said a little prayer to, to God, to the angels, and I just said, be with us today, and guide us as we go along, keep us safe. So we stopped at the store to get a cup of coffee, and when we came back out to start it, the battery was dead.
This was still in Delaware.
Yes. So I said to my husband, he started getting upset. I said, it's going to be fine. Somebody will be here somebody will offer to help give us a jump. It'll be okay. And I ran into the store, and I came back out, and there was a gentleman there. And I'd like to thank Michael London.
Oh, there you go,
for giving us a jump and getting us here today. But really felt great interacting with him. Felt like that was one of the reasons that we were there, was to meet him. We had a great conversation and gave him a hug, and thoroughly enjoyed this brief interaction with a perfect stranger. Being in that state of trust that everything was going to be okay and that we would be provided for, and to be able to look at the opportunities that were being presented, even in what would seem like an awkward moment or an undesirable moment on our way to New York. So we get in the car and we head up here, and I have to go to the bathroom about halfway through, and I held it for as long as I could, and then finally decided, okay, I need to pull over here at the rest stop. And we went in and came back out, went to start the car, it wouldn't start. So my husband said, we probably need to get a new battery, and going into New York is not a good idea with a bad battery, and we should probably go back home. And I said, no, I really have come too far now to turn around. And I'm sure
now it's a challenge. Who's going to win here? Yes.
That I'm sure that there will be somebody kind in New York that could give us a jump after we come into New York and we need to go home. He wasn't that satisfied with that option, so we ended up instead being provided for. There was a garage there that had a battery, and they changed it for us. In about 10 minutes, we were back on our way.
Just an amazing story. And this was all, I think I would have turned around at the refrigerator. It was like, you know what, no, the food's going to melt. I got to spend the whole day fixing this. But you just kept plowing through.
Yeah.
And as a result, you met some really cool people.
Yes.
You got a new battery, which is good, so you don't have to worry about that on the way home, and that's nice. And that's kind of the coaching that you want to do, right?
It is.
And it's hard to tell people you have to believe, you have to have faith, you have to trust. What if you had to tell someone what your philosophy is on that? Is it just jump out and do it, or is it take baby steps and try it out? How? Or do you base it on the client?
Well, I based it on the client, and one of the beliefs that I do share with them, though, is that, what would it look like if you could believe that you were always provided for, that you're always guided, and that you are loved more than you could ever imagine in every moment? And if you could come from that place, and how would you live your life? Would it be, how would it look? Would it be different? If you believed that there were no mistakes, that everything is an opportunity, including a battery, that's dead in the parking lot, that you meet someone new, and or that you replace the battery, and who's not to say that the battery breaking down in the rest area where there happens to be a service station where where they have my battery and they can change it in 10 minutes, versus maybe 6 months from now I was not in a good place for that to happen. So it's really having that trust and faith that there's something greater going on that loves and protects.
One of my previous guests wrote a book called The Gift of Maybe, and it's like living in the land of maybe. It's like, rather than controlling it and saying, okay, I need a battery, I need a refrigerator, I need, it's like, okay, there are all kinds of possibilities, and it doesn't seem like it's working out, but you never know.
Right.
And I think that's kind of what you're saying too, which is a very courageous way. When I finally decided I'm going to be a full-time coach, it took me way longer than I thought it would. I just said, okay, that's it, I'm doing it, and I jumped out. And opportunities came that I didn't even think about. I was like, oh my gosh, what was I waiting for,
Yeah.
So it's good. Do you feel that, let me ask you, because you talk about faith and universe, I talk universe, and does a person have to be very strong spiritually in order to live this philosophy, or are there other qualities they can draw upon?
I think that for me, definitely a spiritual base is a help. The belief in that there is, something more out there because I'm not there to convert anybody's beliefs or to change anybody. You know, I honor what each person believes, but if we're working together, I find that it's more helpful that I'm not there to try to change somebody's mind.
Right, right.
So definitely having that belief or willing to believe that.
So it's required that you have to believe in something, and
Right.
and that it doesn't mean certainly not Allah or God or whatever we're talking about, but you have to believe there's a little bit power bigger than you, and I think you just have to
Yes.
look around, and it's
Yes.
like, of course there is.
That really hit home for me as a nurse. When I was going through nursing school and we started studying the anatomy and physiology and seeing the magnificence of the human body and the wonder about how it operates and how, you know, it's got backup systems and how it always tries to maintain that balance. It was absolute beauty and perfection, and I was absolutely awed by something as basic as our body.
Childbirth, it's like, how does that happen? Well, I know
Yes.
how it happens, but I'm saying, I really do, but it's like, that is just, I think every child is a
Yes.
miracle, and we just take it for granted. It's like, really, all this stuff went together and
Yes.
worked, so it's like, yeah, so what do you want, what's your hope? What do you want to do with this coaching that you've done? Are you a full-time coach now?
No, I'm not a full-time coach right now. We've been giving workshops and I've been writing, so I'm hoping to expand a little bit more on both, on the workshops and the writing, and start giving, start traveling more around the country and really bringing this message to people of, embracing and really living that life of passion and purpose and joy. And once when you have that for yourself, you want to share it with others, and it completely transforms even the people around you when you're able to stay in that place.
What is it that I think? Not only talk the talk, but walk the walk.
Yes.
Yeah. So by example, and I think today was a beautiful example. It's like, no, we're in New York. Here we come.
Yes.
There's a little sidetrack here, but we're going, and it's all going to work out, and which is great because you got your message out. So it sounds like that you want to do like group stuff and
Yes.
reach as many people, and that's kind of why I do the show and the radio show and all of that, because I want people to know this thing out here, coaching, can really help almost
Yes.
anybody. Do you have a specific client, age-wise or gender-wise or whatever other category?
Not a specific client, really just anybody who's really eager and willing to start making the changes in their life. That is, wanting to sees where they're at and really wants to choose something different and bring something different in.
What do you think the first step is, besides, of course, hire you as a coach? But
Right.
what would be a telltale sign that maybe people are ready for coaching? They may not know what coaching is, but what are some of the signs?
Well, what I like to see is that they are they're open-minded. That they're willing to listen to a different perspective, because a lot of the coaching is going to be bringing in a different perspective than what we normally see, because we want something different than what we normally have.
Right.
So they have to be willing and open to have a different perspective brought in, and then be willing to go along with the process and do some of the work that goes along with it. Noticing what patterns come up or what thoughts come up and being willing to do something different.
So it's kind of a person who feels that little nudge of like, this could be better, or
Right.
I'm totally unhappy, just somewhere in that
Right.
range. And I'm wondering how much courage it takes for them to actually come to you, because I know it took courage for me to walk into the coaching.
Right.
It was like, do I really want to know about myself? Probably not. But it's like, so I'm wondering if you could give them some advice of like how to get out there and start. What would you say to somebody?
To get out and start.
To start coaching or start making providing the space for them to transform and become more aware.
And I think the first thing that comes with that is that desire. The desire for something different than what they've got. And then, really, finding someone that they really feel like they can talk to and that they can trust. And then, even if they contact a couple different people before they reach that.
So how important do you think it is to interview your coaches? I mean, what should you be looking for?
I think it's gonna depend on each person and what they're looking for, but definitely having that rapport and having that trust, or seeing what they've already been able to do, and does that align with what you're looking for, and that sort of thing.
I'm thinking like accountability.
Right.
If and a tip would be, if you push away accountability, you probably need it more than anybody else, you know, because I don't stand over me. I'll get it done. Don't worry about it. But which means I probably need a more stringent because I don't like it. And I think that's a sign too. It's like if you are pushing something away, then, you know, the button pushing thing, it's like you probably should bring it on in because you're going to keep pushing it away, but it's not going away. It's not going away.
And I like the accountability that a coach brings because I know for me, like, oh, you know, I'll do that Monday. No, I meant next Monday. No, I meant Monday and next month, Monday. And so having the coach and, you know, for you to set a goal and then for them to say, okay, now we're going to be back in a week or two and you're going to have this goal accomplished. I know for me, I didn't want to come back and say that I hadn't done what I had told them that I would do, so I would make sure that it would get done versus when it was just for me, I could kind of put it off and not do it and say, oh, it's okay. I'll do it later.
No, I have a friend who thinks later is an actual time. He really does. It's like, no, there is no time like later. But yeah, I agree. That was, I think when you're going through the coach training, being held accountable, it's like, you know, even if it's a peer coach and someone who's learning along with you, it's just like, oh, I don't want to say I didn't do it, so I'm gonna do it. Yeah. So it's good to hold the person accountable. So okay, you're saying you're doing some workshops. What kind of workshops have you done in the past?
What we have done is we've had workshops where we say, you know, really embracing your magnificence and your brilliance and really honoring what a gift each of us truly are. I mean, each of us we're amazing. And so many times I feel like the world doesn't necessarily give us that message. They always tell us, you know, what you're doing wrong or what you could do better or, you know, how you don't measure up. But I think that it's so important to start really looking at what amazing people each person is. Everybody has an amazing story to tell. Everybody, the more that I learn about people individually, the more I'm so in awe of people and inspired by the lives that they live. And I think how wonderful would the world be if we could embrace that and see it in ourselves, because I think it has to start in yourself before you can see it in others. And embracing that magnificence and that brilliance and really living from that place and then seeing it in others. And when you see that in others, you can't do the things that so often happen in the world.
Right. I so wish that we as coaches could get that message out to kids who are being bullied. It's like embrace your unique, but I don't even pretend I'm going to deal with youth. I don't. But somebody does, I'm sure. But it's such an important message, and I don't know if it comes from wisdom, and do you have to actually sustain it, but such an important message that it's like everybody brings to the table their own set of specialness.
Yes, they do.
And if, you know, we were all the same, again, boring. So, great message out there. How could people get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, I have Whole Being Coaching on a Facebook page, so they can contact me through the Facebook page, wjpublishing.com. They can also get a hold of me through the Women's Journal. And then also my contact information and email address and phone number are also affiliated with the wjpublishing.com.
Oh, okay. So you're not hiding.
No.
Okay, and so not only are you doing workshops and doing group stuff, but do you do also one-on-one coaching?
Yes, I do one-on-one coaching selectively.
Okay, yeah. That's always my philosophy. Bring a bunch of people together, and then if they need me one-on-one, we'll talk.
Right, exactly.
We can talk. Well, we have like 25 seconds left. Believe it or not, I promised you it would go fast, and it did. I can only thank you. I know the effort it took to get here. I appreciate it. We kind of knew when we met in New Jersey that, okay, we're supposed to do this. So I so appreciate you being here and sharing with us what you're doing and how you got there. Thank you,
and
Ann.
I thank you for letting me share the message. And if I had one final thing to say, is one of the things that we said in our workshops is that there are 7 days in a week, and one day and someday are not one of them. So today is the day to live and really embrace magnificent, amazing you.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you.